Hello, welcome to Milk Honey Rose. I am Mystic Alchemy. Thank you for being here. This is episode 3. Okay. This is in reference to spiritual laws of the universe being broken. And today's law that we will be discussing is the law of correspondence. Okay. This law suggests that there is a correspondence between the mental, physical, and spiritual realms, meaning that the universe operates according to certain laws that govern all levels of reality. I feel like this is one that has a lot of topics mixed into one, just because it's talking about different planes of different planes of spirituality, because it's referencing the correspondence, like how each plane communicates with one another, mental, physical, and spiritual, each realm. And when each realm is attacked, it's going to cause a massive shift into either the right direction or the wrong direction, but clearly being that our environment is in a state of chaos, that goes to show that right now each plane is going in the wrong direction. Okay, so to talk about the mental plane first, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Okay, I read like that there for, the details about the law of correspondence, but I'm just going to see what comes to me. Mental plane. The mental plane is affected by substance abuse, foods, and chemicals, as well as an abundance of toxicity that attacks the mental state of being. So if one feels as though they're deprived of anything, that can have an effect on their mental state of being, because when someone is in need of something, it can cause a strain on their ability to think. Like, okay, when you think about it like this, when someone has everything that they need, when it comes to the basics, a home, food, and clothing, they're going to be able to think clearly. I can also relate that to like a child going to school, right? If they didn't eat breakfast in the morning, I mean, I know all children don't eat breakfast in the morning, but this is just an example, because some people's bodies are not set up like that to eat breakfast. Some people just don't do that. But that's besides the point. I'm just giving an example. Okay, so say, for example, a child doesn't eat breakfast in the morning. When they go to school, it may be difficult for them to think straight, right? Or if their home is chaotic, and then when they get to school, they're falling asleep in class because whatever is happening at home is affecting them at school. If someone has an issue with drug abuse or substance abuse, their mind is not going to be clear because it will be ridden with toxicity. Just think about in all the ways that the mental plane is affected. If something happened in your family where you never really coped with it, or you went through, or individuals in general that have gone through like some type of traumatic experience and never healed from it, never talked about it, it kind of just like was deep within them, just festering and getting worse over time, that causes mental health issues. So I feel like it's really about basically the environment. It always really reverts back to the environment, but it's also how one thinks about the environment as well as resources. When there's a mixture of resources that are like basic resources, basic needs that are not met, as well as relational issues within the family or just in the circle, like familial issues. All of these things can cause a problem on the mental. But what is the influence of all of these things? It reverts back to media and what is being shown on a regular basis. Do you see how everything is like collapses on each other? It's in alignment, even though it's not divine, you know, but it is in alignment. Whatever happens above falls down to the bottom and affects everyone. So, do you see how that aspect of the law of correspondence is broken? There's more toxicity available for one to absorb rather than information and education to cause an ascension and an elevation. You see how simple it is, but it's very influential. It could be as small as seeing a billboard of people partying at a club. When there's an ad on a billboard, so many people see it when they're driving on the highway. And a lot of times they have it lit up. They have like lights around it. You can't help but not to see it. I mean, you can't help but to see it. So that'll make someone think, oh, maybe I should go to the club and spend some money and, you know, drink. You know, and I'm not trying to like shoot down anybody who likes to do that. That's fine. You know, I get it. But I'm just showing you an example of how easy it is for you to think about something and act on it when, even if it's not that good for you, or even if it could affect you in a negative way, but it's the exposure. That's what I'm talking about. When somebody is exposed to a certain something, you begin to move in that direction of that thing that you've been exposed to. It's like you're not even thinking about it so much, but it happens because it becomes a part of the subconscious mind and a little unconscious as well, because it's like you may have glanced at it and didn't say anything about what you saw at that moment, but it still gets stored in your subconscious mind. So a little piece of you is like, oh, I want to go do that because I saw it. I want to go do it and I saw it. It's like, where did I see that at? Where did I hear that at? And it makes you, it's like a recall. It makes you recall things that you would have never recalled that thing if you didn't see it or hear about it. But if you are mindful, you'll know what to reject and what to keep. If it's something that's good for you, you keep it. And you allow it to go into your subconscious mind. But if you build if you have security within your mental plane, and you really pay attention to what you're receiving, and if you want to keep it or not, that will help you from being exposed to such processes. Okay. Now the next portion of this topic on the law of correspondence and how it's broken, how that spiritual law is broken, spiritual and universal law, is the physical. Now, this can go in multiple directions. The physical, that's just basically the body. It's also vanity, because that's physical as well, like how someone appears to be. So just because someone appears to be some way doesn't mean that they're in the best shape. Someone could look A1 healthy, okay? But inside they could be sick. You know, someone can look wonderful on the outside, but on the inside they can be completely destroyed. People usually, because that's just how we're made up, judge by what you see. So you cast a judgment based on what you see. That's the physical. Some people compare themselves to others because they feel as though what that person has may be more than what they have. And then they'll begin to peg themselves down some notches when they see that they think, from what they see, they think that that person has more than they do, because they haven't found the love for themselves to know that regardless of what anybody else has, they are who they are, and no one can be them. So that begins to play tricks on the mind, because if the person that you're looking at, it is deemed to be like the perfect human from a societal perspective, then you begin to judge on what the masses or what majority of people may believe. But that doesn't mean that it's right, and it doesn't mean that it's true. But you'll be tricked into thinking that based off of quantity instead of quality. That's a problem. And that has been going on for a long time. So what other aspect of physical? Someone who has some type of ailment, maybe. Many groups of people tend to look down on people that have like physical issues, like maybe some type of disability or a speech impediment, something, anything. Maybe not a speech impediment, but it kind of goes with the disability in a way, dependent on how you look at it. But still, I'll stick with the physical. Like if somebody just is different from others because of, it could be a birth defect. It could be anything. People are so quick to judge them, not realizing that that could be them. Just as well as that happened to somebody else, that could have happened to you. So why is it so easy for people to judge those who are different and look down on them when they're just really they might not be the same in physicality, but they still have skin and bones and blood running through their body. So that is another way to divide people and, it's another reason for people to fight, for there to be some type of war going on. So the more war, the more division, and that's the problem. Okay, so that's the physical aspect. I feel like maybe there's something else I could talk about there. Let me see. I think those are the main points when it comes to physical. I think those are the main points I want to talk about. So now let me go to the last one. And they all correspond with one another, because this is like the psyche. When you think about mind, body, and soul, mind is mental, body is physical, the soul is spiritual. This is a psychic attack. Okay. So spiritual, when what is the issue with this? Well, some people don't even acknowledge spirit, and that is crazy, because we are spirit. We are spirit, and many people they might not even believe it. They don't even know what that means. So there's a disconnect between individuals and the most important aspect of themselves. So they're living life without the wholeness, because in order to have wholeness, you must incorporate the spiritual aspect of self. And the spirit is how we perceive the world. Is the most authentic aspect of ourselves. The spirit is you. The spirit is what you really think and what you really believe, and acting from that space. So when you communicate and when you move around and when you just make moves, you're moving from a place of authenticity when you are connected to spirit with wholeness, because you are connected to the spiritual aspect of yourself. You can't forget about your spirit, because that is truly you. We are not just this suit right here. We chose it. We made great choices on the avatar that we chose to be here. But this is just a house for our soul to be able to survive in this realm. This is just a house. A house is not a home if there's no one there. Oh, wow. I never thought about it in this way. But Luther said it. He said, a house is not a home if there's no one there to turn the key. Oh, please be there, saying that you're still in love. So if you don't have your soul, the house is not a home. You get it? You can't, your body won't even feel comfortable if no one is there. No one being there is your soul not being activated. You figured out me? Did you catch it? The house is not a home if there's no one there, and if your soul is not activated, your avatar is not even going to be functioning as it's supposed to in divine alignment. Because that means that one has not, or chose not to listen to their soul's cry. And you know what happens when you don't listen to your soul's cry. You're going to be absolutely miserable. And you're not going to like life too much. And you're going to hate everybody. And everybody looks wrong. Everybody is wrong. Nothing's right. It's just like everything is just blah. Life is just not life. Life is not living at that point. So your soul, your spirit is very important. It's like, is it the most important? Yes, it is. You know how challenging it is? Many of you know. Some of you don't. But when you know how challenging it is to tap into your own soul and spirit in a space, in a place like this earth realm full of chaos and confusion, it's hard because it makes, this place makes you want to conform. It's like a place that it will make regular people want to conform, because as humans we also have this aspect of ourselves where we want to fit in to somewhere. We want to feel like we belong in some type of group, because it almost gives you an identity. Like it gives you some sort of identity to feel placed instead of feeling out of place. So it's like many times in life, in the younger years, you're just kind of trying to put yourself in a place to make sense of your life, when all of the sense in your life that you need is within you. But oftentimes we're trying to place ourselves in all of these different groups to try to understand ourselves, and missing the whole point of looking within and not even knowing how to do that. That could be so confusing and so like daunting to the soul and to the truth of life's journey, because this is a spiritual journey. We have a vessel here. We have this avatar. We like it. It looks nice. Hey, look in the mirror like, ooh, I look good, But at the same time, the soul, very important for you to be connected to your soul, because that's when you can move in this life and actually feel comfortable with your life and love your life, love yourself, knowing how to love others. When you love yourself, you love others because you love you. So it's like you just want to love. When you love yourself, you just want to love. You just want to give love. You don't have hate to want to just be attacking people. You don't have it. It's not in there. It's not, because it doesn't even make sense. When you start to really look at it, it starts to look crazy to you, because you realize the game. You realize the objective. I just saw a light flashing in the sky. It was like one of those planes with the light flashing. At first I thought it was something else. I heard take a picture, it lasts longer. It kind of looked like a picture, the flash from a camera. It caught my eye. I heard a picture speaks louder than words. I don't know why. I heard that. I guess it's going along with the flash, but why'd you want to say that, Spirit? The stillness. The stillness. Did you ever look at an old picture of yourself and think about like how you used to feel back then in that time? Like what was really going on in your life? And you may look wonderful on the outside, but then you know how you really felt at that time. there's something here about that. Like if you just do that one time and then look at someone that you may, I don't want to say you're jealous of them, but maybe some of you still have that in you. And this is just to heal you. It's not to point fingers or, you know, make you feel a way. It's really more so about you looking at the fact of how it's like correlating how you feel about yourself in that picture. If you knew that that was a time that was hard for you, but you may have been putting on a mask at that time just not to be like a party pooper, or just to try to just continue to feel a sense of comfort in a time of heartache and pain, right? And then you'll realize that that person that you may have been jealous of, this is just an example. I'm not saying that anybody's jealous. Sometimes you still might be though. So we're working on this. We're working on it together. Let's talk about it. You look at somebody and there's something that you see on them that you want, but you don't really know what's going on inside of that person, you know. You don't know if that person's soul is activated. People that have an inactive soul, they're not happy. There's no way that you're walking around happy with an inactive soul, because the soul and the spirit must be activated for you to actually truly feel joy. It has to be activated. The Kundalini would have to be activated already, because if it's not, you can't reach that point. You can't ascend to that point. So what it's really about is connecting to self and refrain from looking outside of self for answers when you have them all already, if you take the time to look inside of yourself. Many of you know that. But it's like you must know that you are responsible for guarding your territory, which is your psyche. Our psyche is our territory. So we have to guard it with our life, just like we are supposed to, or we are meant to take dominion over this earth. Like we must guard it, because we are the guardians not only of the earth and each other, but of our own psyches. And figuring out ways together to protect our psyche and our environments. Because who else is going to do it? Right? Who else is going to do that? And nobody can really do it better than you can, because you're the one who actually cares. You know what I'm saying? When you actually care, you're going to, you know, put work in. You're going to put effort in because it means something to you. When something is of value to you and you know it is valuable in your life, you're going to take care of it. But you can tell when one does not care about themselves, when they don't take care of themselves. That's how you can tell when somebody doesn't care. So when you notice when someone doesn't care enough to move in the direction of maintaining the, what can I call it? Maintaining the condition of the psyche and the environment and the influence of the environment, then they don't care. So then you know you can't really deal with people like that. Because if you could tell that you have these types of people around you, those are the ones that they're not good for you. And if that's what they chose, that's fine. That's their lot. They choose what they want to choose. But that doesn't mean that you have to accept them, because it's just going to confuse you and have you feeling a sense of being misaligned just because they don't really resonate with you. So the law of correspondence is really how the psyche is affected by influence, and how the only way to reestablish the protection of that law is to take ownership of your psyche, as well as assisting those around you that don't know about this to know. And then also do all that you can within the environment to ensure security of your psyche. That's what it comes down to. It's like security, maintenance. It's starting to sound like software development. But it's true. It's what it is. It's about, it has to be maintained. The security must be maintained and the awareness. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse. Okay? It's only going to get worse if the change is not made, and it must be made like now. Okay? What do you think can be done to ensure that you don't allow toxicity to sneak into your subconscious mind? When you analyze and pay attention to the details of what the information is that you take in, and you make the choice as to if you want to accept it or reject it, that is you having a bouncer in the front of the club. How are you going to get in a club if you can't even get in? The club is the subconscious mind. Okay? So only the VIPs can come in. The VIPs, very important people, are the good thoughts, the good intentional thoughts that have meaning for the future of you and your legacy. Only very important people, okay? Because if you got some criminals trying to get up in there and some individuals that, want to hack you, they getting bounced. They can't get in the club. They can't come in. They not invited to the party. Okay? That's just how it's got to be. That's just what it is. Okay? So let me know how this message has changed your mind about your psyche and how you can take care of it. Like how will you take care of your psyche from now on? How do you view the mental, physical, and spiritual realms now? Those planes. How do you view them and how they correspond to one another? Because they all work together in sync. But to maintain and secure, and then teach to be aware, and as well as to maintain awareness. What do you think about all this? What does it mean to the future? What does it mean to you now? What does it mean to your family? That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. These things are very, very important. I'm lighthearted, so I play a lot. But at the same time, I know when things are serious and when they need to be spoken of in such a way. But being that it's so heavy, we must know how to smile still. We must be able to hold on to a reason to smile. Because if you don't, when times get tough, it will be even more difficult. And when you're already feeling down and then chaos gets heavier, it's going to make it so much harder for you to even want to peel yourself up to do anything or to feel like you can do anything. That's why it's so important to keep the levels of your energy at the highest frequency possible so that you could be able to withstand the impact of traumatic experiences that come before the rebirth. This is a moment of birth pains, when a woman is pregnant and she's giving birth. Right now, we're giving birth to the new earth. Giving birth to the new earth, okay? That's why there's so many labor pains. That's why there's so much chaos. That hurt too, okay? Let's talk about that. I had a baby, naturally. I know what that feels like. It hurts. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. But then after, it feels like nothing happened, which is so weird. And then you get a nice little bundle of baby. A bundle of joy. Right? And joy is what we need to be able to break out of this place. At least one of the things that we need. We need joy. Okay? So keep those vibes high so you can actually experience joy. And that joy, it enhances strength. It does. And it makes you feel like you can. When you have that frequency at such a high level, you feel like you can do things that other people with a lower frequency would never think that they could do, because of the state that they're in when it comes to their mental, physical, and spiritual self. That's why correspondence, this law of correspondence is so important, because it packs a heavy punch, because it has so much included. The psyche is our whole being. If our psyche is not right, life is done for, you know? So just think about the importance of yourself and your loved ones and your future and your ancestors, because there's so many ancestors that were on the same wave as us when it comes to just wanting to live happy and enjoy life. The work that they started and they couldn't complete is up to us to complete it. And then when our time is up here and we go back into the folds of the universe, don't you want the future to extend and complete, or at least, continue the maintenance of this knowledge and this information? Is necessary. Okay, so that's all for this message. If you would like to book a coaching call with me or purchase anything from me, like any one of my books, you can go to www.milkhoneyRose.org. Thank you so much for being here. I am Mystic Alchemy. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your subscribes. I appreciate you. Everything you do, do it with love, and I'll see you in the next one.